You know that feeling?
Yeah.
You walk into a doctor's office, maybe even somewhere you've been before, and suddenly it feels like you're speaking a different language. Like you're trying to explain this thing that's bothering you, this ache or whatever, and the words just, they don't quite capture it. Or the doctor says something, a diagnosis, and it just flies right over your head.
Oh, absolutely. It's incredibly common. That anxiety, that confusion, it can make you feel really isolated, actually.
Right. But what if there was a way to sort of cut through all that, to feel genuinely comfortable and, properly informed during those visits?
Well, that's exactly what we're digging into today.
Yeah, we're doing a deep dive into this really practical guide. Mastering medical appointments, a language guide. And we're not just pulling out phrases here and there.
No, it's about the strategies behind them, the insights that can actually boost your confidence.
Exactly. Think of this as a roadmap for the whole thing. From deciding, okay, I need to see a doctor, booking it, meeting them, explaining what's up, understanding the plan, all the way to follow up. The aim is to give you the words, sure, but also the know-how to use them effectively. So yeah, let's unpack this. It's packed with stuff that'll make your next visit way clearer.
It really is. And what's great about this guide, I think, is that it highlights how good communication is more than just vocabulary. It's fundamentally about clarity, isn't it?
Yeah.
A mutual understanding, and ultimately feeling empowered about your own health. When you can talk effectively, you get back some control in a situation that often feels, well, quite out of your hands.
That makes sense. And that control, it really starts right at the beginning, doesn't it? Booking the appointment.
Yeah.
The guide really emphasizes being direct and clear from that first phone call or walking in. What are the main takeaways for that initial step?
Well, the guide argues for being concise, direct. So on the phone, something simple like, "Hi, I'd like to book an appointment with a doctor, please." Straightforward.
Gets right to it.
Exactly. And if time's an issue, is there anything available today or tomorrow, or maybe it's not an emergency, but I'd like to get it checked as soon as possible. It just helps the reception staff figure things out faster. They can triage, assist you more efficiently.
Okay. And then when you actually arrive, checking in, what does the guide suggest there?
Again, super straightforward. "Hello, I have an appointment at 10:30. My name is your name," or "I'm here to see Dr. Smith."
Simple.
And it raises a really good point, proactively asking, do I need to fill out any paperwork? That can save time and, prevent confusion down the line.
That's actually a great tip. Takes away one little stressor. And there's a pro tip in the guide right here, tackling that common worry about speaking in a second language, right?
Absolutely. The pro tip is basically speak slowly and clearly. And crucially, remember that clinic staff, receptionists, they are so used to helping people from all sorts of language backgrounds.
Right, this is their job.
It is. Their main role is to help you get care. They're good at understanding different accents, different ways of speaking. Knowing that can really lower the anxiety level, let you focus on just communicating.
Yeah, takes the pressure off, trying to be perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so appointment booked, checked in. Now you're in the waiting room. The guide mentioned some common things you might hear there.
It does. Little phrases that help you feel less sort of lost. You might hear, "The doctor's running a bit late." We've all heard that one.
Oh, yeah.
Or, "Please take a seat. Someone will call your name shortly." And often, just before you go in, they might double check, "Can you confirm your date of birth?" Knowing these just helps you stay oriented, feel a bit more in control while you wait.
Makes sense. Okay, now the main event. Meeting the doctor. They don't just jump into a diagnosis usually. The guide says they'll start with open questions, right? To get your side of the story.
Precisely. They'll probably kick off with something broad like, "So what brings you in today?" And the guide gives some really good, natural-sounding responses, direct ones. "I haven't been feeling well lately," or "I've had this headache that just won't go away."
Or if it's something you can see.
"Yeah, I'm here because of this rash on my arm." The point is, these opening questions are your cue to clearly state your main reason for being there.
Got it. And after that initial statement, what kind of follow-up questions does the guide prepare us for?
Well, typically they'll want to know about timing. How long have you had this?
Right.
So you might say, "It started about 3 days ago," or "It's been going on for over a week now." Simple, clear answers.
Okay.
And they'll almost certainly ask, "Have you taken anything for it?"
Yes.
And you could reply, "Yes, I took paracetamol, but it didn't really help," or "No, I wasn't sure what I should take." The strategy here is just providing that precise timeline and any actions you've already taken. It's vital info for them.
Which leads us right into maybe the most critical part, explaining your symptoms. The guide offers a really neat structure for this, doesn't it? Easy to remember.
Yeah, it's brilliantly simple. It suggests using clear starters. I feel. Or it hurts when.
Okay.
That structure lets you articulate loads of different symptoms clearly, makes it much easier for the doctor to understand what's going on without ambiguity.
So using that,
Yeah.
if you have a fever, I have a fever and chills, or my throat is sore. If you feel sick, I feel nauseous. Stomach feels puffy. My stomach feels bloated. Sudden pain, there's a sharp pain in my side. Or that very common one now, I've lost my sense of taste or smell. It's just direct.
Exactly. And the guide really drills down into describing pain itself, which is often tricky. It's not just, it hurts.
Right, there are different kinds of hurt.
Precisely. You can describe it as a dull ache, maybe something mild but constant, or a sharp pain for something sudden, intense.
Okay.
And you can specify the pattern too. It comes and goes, or it gets worse at night. That level of detail is gold dust for a doctor. It gives them real clues.
The guide also flags a useful natural English tip here, a little nuance.
Yes, it points out saying, I've got a cold, rather than, I am having a cold.
Yeah.
It's a small thing, but it just sounds a bit more natural, more fluent, helps you feel a bit more confident, which, helps the whole interaction.
Definitely. Okay, so once you've laid out all your symptoms, the focus shifts, right, to understanding the doctor's diagnosis.
This is where the doctor starts connecting the dots. You might hear phrases like, it looks like a viral infection,
Okay.
or nothing too serious, but you need rest. They might suggest next steps. Let's do a blood test just to be sure. Or, maybe more directly, I'll prescribe you some antibiotics. These give you that first impression of what they think is going on.
But, and this seems really important, the guide stresses, what if you don't get it, if you don't understand what they just said?
Absolutely crucial. You have to speak up. The guide empowers you with the right phrases. Could you explain that, please? Simple. Effective.
Or what does that mean exactly?
Yes. Or even just asking, is it serious? Don't hesitate. Asking these questions isn't just about language, it's about being your own advocate. You have a right to understand your health.
That's a really powerful point. Okay, which brings us nicely to talking about medicine and treatment.
Right. So you've got the diagnosis, now maybe a prescription or some advice. The guide lays out the absolutely critical questions you need to ask. For safety, for recovery.
What are those non-negotiables?
Well, definitely. How often should I take it? And do I take it with food? Also, are there any side effects? Super important.
Yeah.
And critically, can I take this with my other medication? These aren't just polite questions. They're essential safeguards.
Makes sense. And what will the doctor likely tell you about taking the medicine?
You'll hear specific instructions. Take this twice a day for 7 days. Or 1 tablet after each meal.
Okay.
And a really key piece of advice, which the guide highlights, is finish the course even if you feel better.
Yes. The classic antibiotic advice.
Exactly. It's so important for preventing resistance and making sure you're fully recovered.
Such a vital point, not just for you, but for everyone, really. Okay, nearly there. Ending the visit and follow-up. What loose ends do we need to tie up?
Right. Don't just walk out. The guide suggests asking things like, do I need to come back? Or should I call if it gets worse?
Good ones.
And maybe, how long will it take to recover? The doctor might respond with, come back in a week if it's not better. Or give general advice like, rest, drink plenty of fluids, take it easy.
Standard stuff.
And, of course, a simple, thanks for your help, doctor, goes a long way, builds rapport.
Definitely. The guide also includes some great bonus, real English expressions, little phrases doctors might use, like if they say, it'll clear up on its own. What does that mean?
That basically means it'll get better without specific medicine. Your body will handle it, often for minor things.
Okay. And we'll keep an eye on it.
That means they'll monitor it, but no immediate action needed. Maybe a follow-up later, sort of a wait and see.
And if they say you're just run down?
That just means tired, maybe a bit stressed, not seriously ill. And if they advise rest, they'll often say, take it easy for a few days. It's just a natural way to phrase it.
These are handy. And there's that quick phrase bank, too, for practical bits like, I've been feeling under the weather.
Yep, just means feeling generally unwell.
Or, it's nothing serious, I hope, expressing a little worry. And when you're getting better, I'm feeling much better today. Plus practical things like, can I get a sick note, or should I stay off work? Those everyday necessities.
Exactly. Things you definitely need to ask sometime.
Wow. Okay. So we've really covered a lot there. It feels like a complete toolkit, really.
Yeah.
Not just words, but the whole approach to communicating during a medical visit.
Yeah.
What might have felt kind of daunting before should hopefully feel much more manageable now. The goal is feeling more confident, more in control.
Absolutely. And remember that pro tip from the booking section. That clinic staff are used to helping everyone.
Right. Don't be nervous about your accent or making small mistakes.
Exactly. Their goal is to support you. Understanding that really helps reduce the stress.
And that final advice from the guide really sums it up, I think. Don't aim for perfection. Just aim for clarity. Honesty.
Simple language works. Doctors are used to different accents, the occasional mistake. It's totally fine.
Practice helps, obviously. With a friend, a teacher, even just talking to yourself in the mirror, the more you do it, the easier it gets.
And this isn't just theoretical, is it? This knowledge has real, practical use in your life. Better health outcomes, definitely more peace of mind.
For sure.
And connecting it to the bigger picture, maybe it raises an interesting question for you to think about. What if getting better at the language of medical visits helps you not just speak better, but also listen better?
Listening better.
Yeah, listening better to your doctor, sure. But maybe, even more profoundly, listening better to your own body, to its signals, understanding what it needs and communicating that more clearly.
That's a fascinating thought. Improving how we talk outwards might help us understand what's going on inwards.
Really interesting.
Yourself in that slightly vulnerable position,
Yeah.
maybe in a doctor's waiting room,
Oh, definitely.
feeling unwell, maybe a little anxious about how you'll actually explain what's going on.
Yeah.
It's not just the health thing itself, is it? It's the challenge of finding the right words,
Yeah.
Especially when clear communication is just, it's paramount.
Absolutely. It feels like a high-stakes conversation.
Right. And the last thing you want is for something vital to get lost in translation.
Exactly.
That's why we've got a really essential deep dive today. This isn't about complex medical jargon.
No.
It's more about mastering the conversation itself, empowering you with the practical language you need for these medical appointments. Our mission really is to equip you with the essential phrases, the understanding, so you can feel confident and in control. Right from that very first call all the way to the follow-up.
Yeah, great.
We're drawing from a fantastic practical guide. It's full of direct phrases and tips just designed to make these interactions smoother.
And what's really powerful here, I think, is understanding that even just a few precise phrases can significantly shift the dynamic of your appointment.
Yeah.
We're going to walk through this whole journey with you, starting right at the beginning. You know, when you first need to get in touch with the clinic.
Okay, so let's picture it. You need to see a doctor. You're picking up the phone maybe, or walking into the clinic. What's the best way to make that first contact? Especially if you're already feeling, a bit rubbish.
Well, the source material really stresses tone here. Being polite and calm, even if you're not feeling great, it sets the right foundation.
Right.
You can start simply. Just state your intention. I'd like to make an appointment with the doctor, please.
Okay. Straightforward.
Yeah. Then a practical question. Is there any availability today or tomorrow? Now, if it genuinely feels urgent, and this is important, only if it's really serious, you could add it's quite urgent.
Use that one carefully then.
Exactly. Or if you're just generally feeling unwell and need to be seen, a good phrase is, I've been feeling unwell and I'd like to see someone.
That makes sense.
The key insight, I think, is that politeness isn't just manners. It kind of sets a professional tone that eases the whole interaction, especially when you feel vulnerable.
Yeah, that's a really good point about setting the tone. So, okay, you've made the call, got the appointment. The next step is often the front desk, right? When you arrive. How do you handle that first face-to-face bit? Especially if you're, say, a bit early or running late or maybe unsure about paperwork.
Yeah, the check-in, it's all about clarity and efficiency. You'll want to state your purpose clearly, something like, my name is your name, and I have an appointment at 3 o'clock.
Okay.
If you are a bit early or late, it's always good practice to ask, I think I'm a bit early or a bit late. Is that okay?
Good idea, acknowledging it.
Exactly. And don't hesitate to ask about the admin stuff. Do I need to fill in any forms?
Right, because sometimes there are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the question everyone's thinking, do you know how long the wait might be?
Yes.
Yeah.
The million-dollar question.
It is. But asking manages expectations for you and the staff. Being proactive shows you're prepared, helps them manage things, and it can actually reduce stress for everyone.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, now for the part that I think makes a lot of people nervous, and getting this right can really impact your care. Actually describing your symptoms to the doctor?
Yeah.
How do we put words to how we're feeling? Especially when we already feel bad.
This is where becoming A precise observer of your own body really pays off. Doctors aren't mind readers, right?
Right.
So if you can notice what you're feeling, not just that you're feeling something, it gives them the clues they need. The source has a great list of common issues and how to phrase them.
Okay, let's hear some.
For example, you could say, I've been having a headache for the past few days. Or maybe I feel dizzy or lightheaded.
Okay.
For a sore throat, my throat is sore and it hurts when I swallow. If you're generally unwell, I've got a fever and chills.
Common ones?
Very. For a cough, I've been coughing a lot, especially at night. Body aches. There's a sharp pain in my lower back. If your appetite's off, I've lost my appetite. Or just simply, I've been feeling tired all the time.
Wow, that's a really comprehensive list. It really covers a lot of common ground.
Yeah.
It makes you realize how useful having these phrases ready can be.
Definitely.
And on that, is there like a nuance in phrasing that makes a difference between technically correct and what sounds, natural?
Oh, absolutely. Great question. The source points this out. While saying I have pain in my stomach is grammatically fine,
Sure.
listeners should know that I've got a stomach ache is much more natural. It's more common in everyday English.
Right, it just flows better.
It does. And those little shifts make your communication feel smoother. It lets the doctor focus on your symptoms, not on kind of deciphering your phrasing. Small detail, big difference.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Speaking of precision, describing pain, that can be incredibly tricky. It's not just that it hurts, but how, right?
Yeah.
What specific language can we use to explain the discomfort really accurately? Give the doctor the best possible picture.
This is where you can really help them understand the nature of the pain. Think of it like painting a picture with words.
Okay.
You can specify if it's a dull ache, not sharp, more constant, maybe throbbing.
Right.
Describe its pattern. It comes and goes. Or when it's worse in the morning. Is it changing? It's getting better. It's getting worse. And pinpoint triggers, it hurts when I move or breathe or eat.
That's really specific.
It is, because doctors look for these characteristics: location, intensity, quality, timing. The more precise you are, the faster they can narrow things down.
That makes perfect sense. So, okay, you've described your symptoms vividly. Now the doctor starts asking you questions, digging a bit deeper.
Yep.
What are some typical questions we should expect, and how should we prepare to answer? Clearly and honestly, of course.
Doctors often start quite open-ended, like, how long have you been feeling like this? A clear response could just be, it started about 3 days ago.
Okay, simple timeline.
Exactly. They'll definitely check your medical history. Are you allergic to any medication? Your answer could be, no, not that I know of. Or if you are, yes, I'm allergic to penicillin, for example.
Crucial information.
Absolutely. And they might ask, do you have any other health issues? You could reply, I have high blood pressure. Or maybe, no, I'm generally healthy. The key here is honesty, but also conciseness.
Right, get to the point.
Yeah. Give the info clearly, directly, without too much extra detail, helps them build that picture efficiently.
Okay, so you've explained everything, answered their questions. Now comes that pivotal moment. The doctor gives their assessment.
The diagnosis part.
What kind of phrases might we hear as they tell you what they think is wrong or suggest next steps? And crucially, how do we make sure we totally get what they're saying?
Right. When it comes to the diagnosis, doctors use certain phrases, and it's your right, really your responsibility, to understand them fully.
Yeah.
You might hear things like, it looks like a mild infection, or you probably have the flu. They might suggest tests. You might need a blood test.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll offer reassurance. It doesn't seem serious, but let's keep an eye on it. And if medicine is needed, I'm going to prescribe you some antibiotics.
That's really helpful. But what if you hear something and you're just not sure? You don't quite get it. It feels so important to understand properly, especially with health stuff.
Exactly. This is where patient empowerment really kicks in.
Yeah.
If you don't understand, the most important thing is ask for clarification.
Don't be afraid to ask.
Never. Don't hesitate. Say, could you explain that again, please? Or maybe, what does that mean exactly? Never feel embarrassed. Your understanding is vital for managing your own health.
Absolutely. Okay, so you understand the diagnosis. Then there's usually talk about medicine, treatment. It's just so vital to fully grasp the instructions for any prescriptions. What questions should we definitely be asking about medication to make sure we use it safely, effectively?
This part is critical. Seriously critical for effective treatment, avoiding problems. Always, always ask, how often should I take this?
Right.
And should I take it before or after meals? Also really important. Know about reactions. Ask, are there any side effects?
Good one.
And if you're taking anything else, can I take this with other medication? These questions are your safeguard. Medication isn't one size fits all, you know?
Sure.
It's tailored to you. Understanding the specifics, the regimen, that's an active part of your treatment.
Those are absolutely essential questions. And our source also mentioned some practical tips on understanding common medicine instructions. Sometimes they can be a bit ambiguous.
Yes, exactly. These clarify common terms that can sometimes trip people up. For instance, twice a day. Pretty clear, 2 times.
Okay.
But every 6 hours means once every 6 hours. That might mean waking up during the night, depending on the drug.
Ah, right. Good point.
And on an empty stomach, that usually means before you eat. Maybe 30 minutes to an hour before, or perhaps 2 hours after a meal. Understanding these precise timings and conditions is really key for the medicine to work properly.
Okay, that's super practical. So we're nearing the end of the visit now. You've talked symptoms, understood the diagnosis, clarified the treatment. Time for follow-up and saying goodbye.
Yep. Wrapping up.
What are the key phrases for finishing up? Making sure you know what happens next.
As you conclude, you definitely want to clarify the next steps. Ask things like, do I need to come back for a checkup? And how long will it take to get better? You know, roughly. These questions ensure you leave with a clear path forward.
Good plan.
And of course, always end politely. Thank you, doctor. Or you could say, take care, or thanks for your help. Simple phrases, but they reinforce that professional, grateful tone.
It's amazing how much ground we've covered, just with direct functional language. But what about those times when a doctor uses a more natural, kind of idiomatic phrase? Something that might not be immediately obvious. The source had a great section on these.
Yeah, this is fascinating how common expressions get woven into medical chats. These aren't just vocabulary points. They show something crucial about real-world English. It's not always literal.
Right.
Understanding these common expressions isn't just about knowing more words. It's about grasping the conversational shortcuts native speakers use. It can really reduce anxiety in these high-stakes situations.
Okay, give us some examples.
Sure. If a doctor says, you'll be right as rain soon, they just mean you'll feel better soon.
Okay. Right as rain. Got it.
If they say, let's run some tests, it means let's check what's going on, basically, do some investigations.
Makes sense.
If they advise, we'll need to monitor that, it just means we need to keep an eye on it, see how it develops. And finally, something like, it should clear up in a few days, means it should go away soon. Knowing these can really help you feel more comfortable, more in sync with the conversation.
That's incredibly useful. What a journey we've taken today.
Yeah.
From making that initial booking, clearly describing symptoms, understanding the diagnosis, planning follow-up. It's just so clear that effective, precise communication is really the cornerstone of good healthcare.
Absolutely.
This deep dive, hopefully, has given you the tools to interact confidently, clearly, to turn what could be stressful into something manageable, even empowering.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, you know, understanding and asking questions isn't just about getting clearer instructions.
Yeah.
It's an active part of managing your own health. It empowers you to be an informed, engaged participant in your care, not just a passive recipient.
That's a really powerful way to put it. So thinking beyond the doctor's office, what does this all mean for you? How could practicing this kind of clear, specific communication empower you in other important conversations in your life?
Good question.
Where else could a little extra clarity make a huge difference in how you're understood and maybe how effectively you navigate your world? Something to think about.
Definitely something to ponder.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We really hope you feel much more prepared for your next medical appointment and maybe for any important conversation that comes your way.